and welcome back to your favorite Magic the Gathering Commander-themed show of all time, Muscles and Magic the Gathering. My name is Bobby Maximus. I am the Muscles. These cards, something I've been involved with since 1994, a massive passion in my life for 3 decades now, Magic the Gathering. I started collecting in Unlimited. Today, we are going to talk about Faeries, and I'm going to put this out there right now. This is going to be the best, the most comprehensive typal, kinfolk, tribal, whatever you want to call it, fairy deck of all time. So we're going to learn about fairies, and as a sub-theme to this, because our commander is Alela, we'll talk about her in a minute. We are going to talk a little bit about artifacts, a little bit about enchantments, because they do play a role in this deck. There's a sub-theme going on here. But back to the deck building. One thing I do want to address with you is oftentimes people will make comments like, why didn't you include this card in your deck? Why didn't you include this card in your deck? I want to win. I like having competitive decks, and I'd like to think out of my 57 commander decks that a lot of them are fairly good. But I don't build decks just for the sole purpose of competition. When I play Magic, I want to connect with like-minded people. I want to have fun. I want to have a laugh. I've never felt bad walking away from a Magic the Gathering card, being the first, or a Magic the Gathering game, a commander game, being the first person out. And I've never felt overly ecstatic about winning. For me, it's the experience about playing with incredible people, laughing, and experience something that brings us joy together. I want to put this out there first. When I build decks, I build for collectability. That's my number one goal. I love my cards. I want to showcase them. So oftentimes, you'll see pet cards in my decks. And oftentimes, if I'm telling you I'm building a fairy deck, it is going to be a fairy deck. I will actually put fairies in favors of some other cards, or in favor of some other cards, because I want it to be true to the theme. We've got 57 commander decks right now. The goal is 100. Hopefully you can help me get there. But when you come to my house to play, you grab my fairy deck, you're going to get fairies. So with all that in mind, let's get down to the task at hand. My commander today, Alela, the Artful Provocateur. Flying, Death Touch, Lifelink. Other creatures you control with flying get +1/+0. And whenever you cast an artifact, remember I said there's an artifact or enchantment sub-theme? You create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. I chose this commander. There are some other commanders you can choose. Some people choose Talion the Kindly Lord, although in fairness, that's usually a CEDH thing. Some people choose the other Alela, and I know I've got a copy of it here. It is in my 99. They'll choose the Cunning Conqueror. Some people will choose Tegwell, but I chose Alela because I wanted some white in this deck to make it a comprehensive fairy-themed deck, all right? That said, moving on from the commander, now we're going to talk about the 99. We're going to talk about creatures first. And first up, might as well go with this one, Alela, the Cunning Conqueror. Flying, whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, create a 1/1 black fairy rogue creature token with flying. Whenever one or more fairies you control deal combat damage to a player, goad target creature that player controls. And what were the other spoilers I gave you here? Tegwell, the Duke of Splendor, flying, Death Touch, fairies you control get +1/+1. And when another fairy you control dies, draw a card and you lose 1 life. Card draw is massive in Commander. The 3 biggest aspects to building a good Commander deck are card draw, tutoring, mana ramp. So I'll go on record as saying that. There's a lot of card draw in this deck for that reason. Talion, the Kindly Lord, the CEDH King. Flying, as Talion, the Kindly Lord enters the battlefield, choose a number between 1 and 10. Whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana value, power, or toughness equal to that chosen number, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. Absolute shutdown piece. You're always going to pick a 2, just so we're clear. Rankle, the Master of Breaks. Flying, haste, and when it does combat damage to a player, you can choose any number of these. Each player discards a card, each player loses 1 life and draws a card, each player sacks a creature. We have the Fairy Blade Crafter. Flying, whenever 1 or more fairies you control deal combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on it. When Fairy Blade Crafter dies, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, or X is its power. Monster card in this deck. Staple in all blue decks ever. Phyrexian Metamorph. If you're a blue player, you need a bunch of these. You may have Phyrexian Metamorph enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact or creature on the battlefield, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Promised you a lot of fairies. Here we go. The High Fae Trickster. Flash, flying. You can cast spells as though they had flash. So now you play it at instant speed. Una's Blackguard. Flying. Each other rogue creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. The Faerie Vandal. Jumpstart. Flash, flying. When you draw your second card each turn, put a 1/1 counter on the Faerie Vandal. It's going to grow really big. There's a lot of card draw in this deck. Yes. Obira, the Dreaming Duelist. Flash, flying. Whenever another fairy enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. The Brazen Borrower, classic blue card. Flash, flying. Brazen Borrower can block only creatures with flying. And it's also an instant. Return target non-land permanent opponent controls to its owner's hand. Here's one of the main reasons I wanted white. The Ancient Gold Dragon. Not a fairy itself, but fairy themed. Whenever Ancient Gold Dragon deals combat damage to a player, you roll a d20. If you roll an 18, you're making 18 blue fairy dragon creature tokens. Monster card from Baldur's Gate. Absolutely love it. Fairy Swarm. Fairy Swarm's power and toughness are equal to the number of blue permanents you control. Another blue staple. Flash, flying. Whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw a card, pay 4 mana, one of them being blue. Each player discards a card. And I totally didn't name it the Fairy Mastermind. You knew what it was, so. Almost dropped my cards. Glen Elendra Archmage. Flying, sacrifice Glen Elendra Archmage and counter a target non-creature spell. It also has Persist. The greatest common of all time. If you've watched my series, you know what I love because I love making tokens. Mirkwood Bats. It might not be the greatest common of all time. That might be a stretch, all right? It's probably Command Tower. But this card, if you are making or sacrificing tokens, and we're making a lot of tokens in this deck, we also have some sack outlets we'll talk about. Absolute monster card. You're pinging everyone at the table for all kinds of damage. Metallic Mimic. Enters the battlefield, choose a creature. You know what we're choosing. It becomes that creature, and then each other creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. The Malleable Imposter. I told you we had all the fairies. Wasn't lying. I'll say that before. I'll say it again. Flash, flying. You can have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature an opponent controls, except it's fairy shapeshifter in addition to its other types and has flying. The Mistbind Click. Flash, flying. You get to champion a fairy. And when a fairy is championed with Mistbind Click, tap all lands target player controls. Now, I know you're rushing over to Google or whatever to look what champion means. When this comes into play, sacrifice it. So wait, when this comes into play, sacrifice it unless you remove another fairy you control from the game. When this leaves play, that card returns to play. All right, so that's what champion is. A little confusing. It's something you actually don't see a lot in Magic the Gathering. Fairy Artisans. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Then exile all other tokens created with the Fairy Artisan. The Nettling Nuisance. Fine. Whenever one or more fairies you control deal combat damage to a player, that player creates a 4/2 red pirate creature token. But this creature can't block. The token is goaded for the rest of the game. The Archmage of Echoes. Fine. Ward 2. Whenever you cast a fairy or wizard permanent spell, copy it. Sign of Una. All your other fairies get +1/+1. And most importantly, your fairies have Shroud. They can't be the target of spells or abilities. The Likeness Looter. Fine. Tap it, draw a card, discard a card. I told you card draw is important in Commander. X. Likeness Looter becomes copy of target creature card in your graveyard with mana value X, except it has flying and this ability. Activate only as a sorcery. Una, Queen of the Fae, flying. And this is a menace to monocolored decks. I've seen this wreck people who play monocolored decks. But you pay a blue or a black and X, choose a color. Target opponent exiles the top X cards of their library. For each card of the chosen color exiled this way, create a 1/1 blue and black fairy rogue creature token with flying. Vendilion Click, classic fairy. Flash, flying. When it enters the battlefield, I look at the target player's hand. I choose a non-land card from it. And if I do, that player reveals the chosen card, puts it on the bottom of their library. Super useful to look at somebody's hand in a game of Commander. The Fairy Harbinger. Flash, flying. When it comes into play, you search your library for a fairy card, reveal it, then shuffle your library, put that card on top of it. And the Glen Elendra Liege. Blue creatures, black creatures get +1/+1. If they're multicolored, they get double the bump. Those are the fairy creatures. How many fairies do I have? Let's make sure this is a fairy deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Shapeshifter, so no. Mirkwood Bats, no. 12, 13, 14. Not a fairy card, but fairy themed, so I'll count it. 15. And then we have 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 fairy-related cards right there. So that's why I say this is the most comprehensive fairy deck you will ever see. Collectability first. We've talked about creatures. Now, there is this on Alela. Whenever you cast an artifact or enchantment spell, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with 5. Let's talk about our artifacts and enchantments because there's a lot. Because actually, I'm looking off at my mock build right now. And by the way, there will be a link to my deck list in the show notes. There's 13 artifacts, there's 12 enchantments. So let's talk about those. Commander Sphere. And 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Sacrifice Commander Sphere, draw a card. We have the Swiftfoot Boots. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste. Lightning Greaves. We want to protect our commanders. Commander protection is important. Equipped creature has haste and shroud. Talisman of Dominance. Great mana ramp card. The greatest mana ramp card of all time. We have a Soul Ring. Maybe the second greatest of all time, the Arcane Signet. We have a Sensei's Divining Top. Great for card fixing. Not technically card draw. I mean, you can get a little bit of a card draw advantage of this, but this is card fixing. Pay 1, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order, and you could draw a card and put Sensei's Divining Top on top of his owner's library. Ether Vial. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a charge counter on Ether Vial. You may put a creature card with mana value equal to the number of charge counters on Ether Vial from your hand to the battlefield. Remember I said we had some sack outlets. The Phyrexian Altar. Sacrifice a creature. Beautiful printing of this card, by the way. Add 1 mana of any color. Konda's Banner. Attached to a legendary creature. Creatures that share a color with equipped creature get +1/+1. Creatures that share a creature type with this get +1/+1. Great for a kinfolk type deck. The Vanquisher's Banner. Little promo version here. This Vanquisher's Banner enters the battlefield. Choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. Whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, draw a card. Then we have the Herald's Horn. I got to replace this for the Final Fantasy one, but as Herald's Horn enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creature spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top of your library. If it's a creature card of the chosen type, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. And because I'm so excited for this Final Fantasy set, I feel like we just got to do this right now. I have this beautiful version of Herald's Horn right here. I don't really care what's more expensive. I love Final Fantasy. So I'm going to make that change. This one stands for $449 right now, the one I have in my deck. This one is worth $622. So we're definitely going to change it. It's worth more, and I like it better. Live deck updates on my channel. Here we go. Beautiful. The Herald's Horn. Those are my artifacts. And just so you know, I am constantly updating my decks. If you come to the deck list, it's a little different than the video. I mean, I might update my deck the second I get done this video. So when I'm hanging out, like, yeah, I work out a lot. Yeah, I fight. Yeah, I do all those things you expect me to do. But when I want to enjoy myself, when I'm in my most private moments, when I want to unwind from the stresses of the day, I'm doing deck tech. So again, I'm always upgrading my decks. By the time you watch this video, by the time I put it up on the channel, the deck's probably going to be a little different. And if new fairies come out, you better believe it's going to be different. Talked about artifacts. Let's talk about enchantments. Sinister Pomora. Great card. I think in some scenarios, it's as good as a Ristic Study. And it's also not a game changer. If that really works to keep it in bracket 2, if you're trying to stay in bracket 2, cumulative upkeep 1. Whenever target opponent successfully casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card. That player may pay 4 to counter this effect. No one's ever going to counter that, so you're always going to get card draw. That's why I say it's sometimes as good as a Ristic Study. Renewed Solidarity. As this enchantment enters, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+0 at the beginning of your end step. For each token you control of the chosen type that's entered this turn, create a token that's a copy of it. And the reason this is in here, I prefer an Anointed Procession, but I didn't have any left. I'm running low on those. And here's another thing about my decks. I play with real cards. None of these are proxies. I'm not putting the graphics up on the screen, building the ultimate deck. I get tired of the people that are like, I'm going to build the ultimate Faerie deck. And it's like $19,000 and they have every card ever. Like, you know, they're putting a Mox Diamond in it, right? These are real cards. And sometimes I got to make sacrifices. I did not have another Anointed Procession. So we went with Renewed Solidarity. And also, Anointed Procession is going to work in any deck, but this card in a kinfolk type deck is really, really good. So keep that in mind. Folk Hero. Commander creatures you own have, whenever you cast a spell that shares a creature type with this creature, draw a card. Massive, massive card. You know the Bitter Blossom had to be in here. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and create a 1/1 Black Faerie rogue creature token with flying. Look at this Kindred Discovery. Beautiful, beautiful Wilds of Eldraine special. Big pull. I remember the day I pulled this from a collector's box. This Kindred Discovery enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. Card draw is massive. Reflections of Lit Jara. Choose a creature type. We're choosing Faeries, and whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, copy that spell. Double Down. Whenever you cast an outlaw spell, which happens to be rogues, and there's a ton of Faerie rogues in this deck, you copy it. Teferi's Ageless Insight. If you would draw a card, except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. Massive card. The Bind of Thassa. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. And you pay 2 mana. Creatures your opponents control attack this turn if able. The Cover Up Darkness. Let's just give all our fairies fear. Why not? Intangible Virtue. Creature tokens you control gets +1/+1 at vigilance. Lots of creature tokens. The Black Market Connections. Great card. Great card in any commander deck. Sell Contraband. You create a treasure token. You lose a life. Buy Information. Draw a card. You lose 2 life. Hire a Mercenary. Create a 3/2 colorless shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. You lose 3 life. For our final enchantment today, we have Estrid's Invocation. It is an enchantment. You may have Estrid's Invocation enter the battlefield as a copy of an enchantment you control, except it has at the beginning of your upkeep. You may exile this enchantment. If you do, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So the fact you can constantly get enchantments back is going to really, really help you build all kinds of create Faerie tokens. Those are my enchantments. And you'll notice a theme here, a lot of low casting cost stuff. The total mana value of this deck is 185. That means it's getting me fast and furious. I talk about this a lot. The total mana value is all the little symbols on the cards added together. If you are under 200 and you're really under 200, like 185, this deck goes off fast. And in today's landscape of Commander, people are winning turn 4, turn 5. I mean, even turn 7 or 8 is a long game. You want to get your deck rolling, all right? Let's talk about instances, sorceries. Don't have that many of them. This deck is a lot heavier on artifacts and enchantments because of Alela's ability. We have Orm's Chant. Great card, useful in almost any commander deck ever. Target player can't play spells this turn. If you paid the kicker cost, creatures can't attack this turn. Strict Serenade. 1-drop counterspell. Counter target artifact, creature, or planeswalker spell. Its controller creates a 2/2 blue bird creature token with flying. I'll give you a bird to get rid of whatever you're trying to do. Counterspell. Beautiful Strixhaven version of it. Swords to Plowshares. Exile target creature's control gains life equal to its power. I will always give you life to get rid of that bad, nasty creature. And Path to Exile. 2 of the best white removal spells ever. Exile target creature. Controller may search your library for a basic land card. Put that card onto the battlefield. Tap, then shuffle. Yeah, you have an Emrakul. I am definitely going to exile it. You can have your silly little land. Not done sorceries yet. We have a Sinkhole. Destroy target land. We have the insatiable avarice, a great budget tutor. Bobby, where's your demonic tutor? Where's your vampiric tutor? Where's your imperial seal? The holy trinity of tutors. I don't have any, and I didn't do it on purpose to make this a bracket 2, by the way. This deck happens to be, I'm looking at my Moxfield over here, it happens to be a bracket 2, but I didn't do that on purpose. I just ran out of those cards. I only have so many demonic tutors. I only have so many vampirics. Believe me, if I could, I would have all 3 of those cards in this deck. Farewell. Choose one or more. Exile. I love a good board wipe, especially after 2-hour Commander game. Exile all artifacts. Exile all creatures. Exile all enchantments. Exile all graveyards. And Yawgmoth's Will. Massive card. How this is not on the Game Changers list, I have no idea. Great card right there. All right, let's talk about lands. I got a bunch of basic lands in here. I'm not sure exactly how many. I have 37 total lands. Well, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 basics. And now let's talk about the non-basic lands, because the basic lands, there's no more explanation necessary. Love the Ether Drift set. Don't at me about it. I loved Ether Drift, the Bleach Bone Verge. Love this card. Love these Verge lands. The Vault of Champions. The Hallowed Fountain. The Glooblake Verge. The Seat of the Synod. Great artifact land. Whenever you cast an artifact or enchantment spell. Shattered Sanctum. Bullwrath's Stronghold. Add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. Put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. And I realize this is probably not going to trigger Alela, but it is an artifact, so I want some artifact-themed stuff in here, all right? Bullwrath's Stronghold, one of the best lands of all time. Add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. Put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Love it. I need more of those. Skycloud Expanse. Command Tower. The Flooded Strand, the Path of Ancestry. You know what these lands do. Pathway lands, love them. They're double-sided. These tri-lands from the Streets of Capenna, great cards. Let's talk about this for a second. The Secluded Glen. It enters the battlefield. You may reveal a fairy card from your hand. If you don't, Secluded Glen enters the battlefield tapped. Not the greatest land, but put it in because it's fairy themed. Like I said, collectability. The Wasteland. Add a colorless mana to your mana pool. Sacrifice Wasteland. Destroy target non-basic land. The Flood Farm Verge. The Caves of Koilos. These pain lands are incredible. The Addarkar Wastes. And then a beautiful Expedition. Fetid Health. Love the printing of this card. That card actually goes for $35. Beautiful printing of it. And that's my fairy deck. Again, the metadata, 185 for the mana value. It moves fast and furious. It's a bracket 2 and a legit bracket 2. This is one of the only legit bracket 2s I have. There's no illegal cards in it. There's no banned cards. There's no game changers. So this is one of those decks that I will bring to like MagicCon because I can sit down and play with everybody again. I'm not so worried about winning and losing. I just want to have a good time with like-minded, amazing people. And I absolutely love with all my heart the people in the Magic the Gathering community. It's one of my favorite things to be a part of. So that's the metadata on the deck. Oh, one more thing. $896.37. That's some real investment into a fairy deck. When I said this was the most comprehensive fairy deck of all time, I certainly wasn't lying. It's called the Sacred Tree of the Fairy Realm, named after King Harlequin, the king of the fairies. If you know that reference, we can definitely be best friends. At any rate, thanks for coming to another episode. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, sharing a passion with me. Absolutely love Magic Gathering, and this series is a labor of love. I love sharing my cards with all of you. Do me a favor. Before you go in the comments and tell me more fairies. Tell me more cards I can put in my deck to improve this deck. I did have an Academy Rector in it at one point, but I took it out because I used it in another deck. But yeah, tell me some cards like that I can put in my fairy deck chances are I will make the changes. I actually listen. I will give shout outs to the person that recommended the change, so do that for me. And yeah, subscribe, turn those notifications on. This is literally the most real Magic the Gathering channel you will ever see. I'll admit, I'm not the greatest Commander player. I try my best, but I'm really into collecting, and I got a lot of passion, and I love building decks. So this is 100% real. Real cards, a real person that's just like you. And I love you, and thanks for being a Magic the Gathering friend.